Is it possible to learn a language from scratch in 15 minutes a day increments over the app? Well, I'm a very skeptical person. I always roll my eyes hard when I hear this kind of statements and this kind of promises. Yet, this time around, I'm very curious to test this app and see whether the results that it advertises will actually come to fruition. Welcome guys to the TohirT channel. TohirT is here. I hope you had a fantastic week. Well, today we're talking about Duolingo. I came across it relatively randomly. I decided to try it out to finish finally studying French, and after a few weeks of using it, I'm here to talk to you about the experience, the app, whether it's worth paying for it, and just in general, whether you can actually get the language fully into your brain in those 5 to 10 minute classes every single day. Let's do this! If my accent has not been a dead giveaway already, I am bilingual. I have Russian in my repertoire, I have English, arguably, and I've been studying French for a little while, actually, and it's shameful to admit, but almost for 3 years I studied French in college and I never really mastered it or paid enough attention to really be able to at least maintain a conversation in that language. And so it's funny how time works out that as we enter the pandemic, and to not make light of it, but as we all have at least 1 or 2 extra hours every single day, I kept coming back to the thought that I want to go and complete my studies of French. And then randomly, one of my co-workers mentions Duolingo, and I wanted to really explore the possibility of not having enough time, yet finding those smaller increments, those 5, 10, 15 minute a day increments of my free time randomly throughout the day to study the language and see how far can I make it. This is the premise of the app. Instead of hours and hours spent at certain schools spending hundreds of dollars per class buying books, instead you install an app, you pick your 10 to 15 minute increments throughout the day, and you learn the language from scratch. Duolingo offers over 24 different languages, including the High Valyrian for the Game of Thrones fans out there, and the Klingon for those Star Wars fans. Okay, kidding. Star Trek fans. I just kid. But ultimately, they have those fantasy languages. They have a lot of different languages from all over the world. They also enable not only English speakers to study other languages, but say Arabic, Korean. I even saw, I think, some Japanese and Spanish speaking languages than being taught other languages, if it makes sense. Just look on this screen right now. I'll scroll through some of the languages that are available out there in the app. The app is free and you can continue using it in the free mode. It has certain limitations, I'll speak about it in a second, but if you're really invested in the process, you can subscribe and pay a fee. The difference between the paid and free versions is essentially in the heart system. You have limited number of hearts. Use those up when you make mistakes. So Duolingo has a countdown against the amount of mistakes that you will make on the free version, and once you hit that threshold of 5, you have to go and wait or use some of those gems. I know, a lot of microtransactions. Just understand that to simplify it. On the paid version, you can make unlimited number of mistakes, you do not have to wait, you're truly free to study the language on your own pace. When you're using it for free, there are limitations like ads, and there are limitations that impose restrictions on how fast you can move through certain languages depending on how correct you are when you take those quizzes. That's it. Basics aside, now let's talk about my experience using the app for the past 2 to 3 weeks and whether I found it useful or whether I think you should actually go and spend your hard-earned dollars on their subscription service. To group this discussion a little bit, I want to talk about the app itself, the classes that are included in the app, and overall the considerations that I would propose to anyone who is evaluating especially the paid plan. When it comes to the app, UI is simple. It's easy to use, there's nothing flashy about it, there's some animations, the overall classes are easy to find, the profile section is very nice in terms of the amount of customizations it has when it comes to different reminders and ways by which you will keep developing that habit. Duolingo is all about developing the habit, and they really encourage you to continue coming back, even if it's only for those 10 minutes every single day. It will remind you if you're about to lose your streak, which means you're about to skip a day of classes, via the app notifications. It can even email you. There is a buddy system where you can follow other people, people can follow you, and you get notified notified of each other's progress. So it's very similar to what I would say when you go to the gym and you have a buddy in the gym, where sometimes there are certain days when you do not want to go and do that particular action, yet you go because you think the other person wants to go. But then when you both come to the gym, you're like, hey, I do not really want to be here. And the other person is like, yeah, I do not want to be here either. Yet we're here, so we might as well do it. Very similarly, you have other people watching you, you watch other people, and as you see their progress, you realize that, you know what, I should probably go and crank out at least a couple of quizzes and get my flair, get my icon for the day, complete the task. And that's how Duolingo uses that lizard brain that we develop through notification systems of other apps like Facebook, Instagram, that really force us to look on our phone every time it rings or every time the notification pops up. Duolingo leverages that for the better benefit when it constantly lures us in and tells us, the courses are solid. I am curious whether they vary in the quality and the quantity from one language to the other. So I'm speaking from practicing French, keep that in mind. You get certain sections within the app. You can see different circles representing different topics. Each topic helps you practice pronouns, nouns, tense, different kinds of themes. Every class, quote unquote, is structured as a quiz and a set of tips. The tips help you prepare for the quiz, or you can start taking the quiz, and as you get challenged with certain topics, you can quickly reread and see what actually you're getting wrong. Or the best part about frequently those courses is that they will actually pay attention to how well you progress. They're not those static old school tests that you would usually find in your textbooks. These tests really pay attention to how you progress. So if you're doing really well, it's going to slowly start cranking up the complexity of the questions that you get. Or if you really struggle, it will continue re-encouraging you on the same topic. So you will see the same question that you were challenged with and got wrong asked in a different way. Or they will actually take you through a couple of different questions, but then come back to that question you got wrong to see if you recollect the correct answer. And once you exit the course and you finish that particular part of the circle, there's that hard section that I mentioned that kicks in, where you can go and fix the hard. I don't know what the correct term that the creators of the app would use, but you can essentially go and do your homework and do the work on the actual mistake and go and repeat a similar kind of sentences, quizzes, questions, whatever the form it might take, and go through it again to really reinforce how you can fix the issue that it had in the first place. The type of quizzes are different. Some of them are spoken and you have to listen and type up what you heard. Some of them you speak, and the app is pretty good at picking up at least my accent and my voice and correctly transcribing what I just said in French. Same way when you need to translate from one language to English, in my case, I can either dictate it and the app pretty accurately, considering again my accent, recognizes the words that I would say in English and it would write and transcribe what I just said, or you can type them up, as well as there are other different forms of like word matching. You look at the images, things of that nature. I really like the fact that they actually pay attention to how you're progressing and they are dynamically adjusted based on how quickly you crank out those correct responses. To avoid making a 30-minute video, I will start slowly summarizing some of the findings that I had over the past few weeks with the Duolingo app. And well, one of them is definitely the appreciation of how snackable this learning experience is. I had a hard time figuring out how can I fit in my busy schedule with a full-time job, this hobby, 2 kids, another like hour a day to study a language. Yes, I'm moving at a slower pace when I'm studying it like 15-30 minutes at a time, but I'm actually doing something versus nothing, which is great. I do like how dynamic those lessons are, the fact that the quizzes adjust the complexity and figure out the way by which they can reinforce me to learn my mistakes and fix them going forward. And I also appreciate the fact that the variety of the classes and different themes help keep it entertaining and interesting depending on the day and what I feel like studying in that particular moment in time. The way it leverages the reminders and the way it forces you to build a habit is really powerful. At least it works for me. Clearly, as someone who've been making a video a week for the past like 3.5 years, I am good at developing habits, and that habit developing exercise that they put you through is really encouraging for me and keeps me hopeful that I'll stick with French around this time, and hopefully we'll practice and learn, and I have a good friend who speaks French fluently with his sister, and I'll finally be able to maintain the speaking conversation with them and not just ask them where the toilet is. Now, when it comes to considerations, there are really only 2, and one of them is very subjective from my personal experience, but I do want to call it out. It's the fact that they do not send you a reminder when you're about to expire on your trial. They do advertise the trial. It's very easy to activate the trial, especially on the iOS, but they never send me a reminder like, hey buddy, your trial is about to expire. We're about to charge you $80 for our annual subscription. Granted, I would have paid. I already made up my mind like a 1 week in, and I realized it's worth of my investment and I do want to use it to continue studying French. Yet I would appreciate that there will be some form of notification to let me know that the app is about to go and spend my $80. I know, very subjective. Probably I should have known myself. I should have marked it on the calendar, but the fact that you can do it should not mean that you are actually going through and using the sneaky way to get me on a subscription, Duolingo. Now, that aside, the actual more proper consideration is that, in my personal humble opinion as someone who studied English, I do not think it's full replication of the experience of studying a completely new language. What I mean by that is, it's a good foundation. You learn a lot at the very beginning stages. You definitely practice through pattern recognition. You practice through different kind of like words and sentences. There's good mix of spoken word, and there's, as I've mentioned, things that you have to pronounce yourself. So there's like interesting amount of things that you can do. Yet I think what it's missing is really some of those bits and pieces that I actually picked up a lot on my own when I studied English back in the day, where you have to go and watch, for example, movies or TV shows or YouTube videos in that language that you're studying. You have to go and listen to like a podcast by native speakers, not by teachers who are teaching you a language. No, you have to go and actually listen to someone who speaks the language in today's world using today's slang, so that you can slowly start catching up, especially with your ears, to how the language sounds in real life. And finally, you have to go and speak that language to people who are native-born speakers and carriers of that language.
Buongiorno.
In some part, and to Duolingo's credit, the social aspect of the app, I think, is built to enable you to go out there and talk and practice it with other people. My challenge is that there are a lot of other people who barely speak French like I do, so you have to go out of your way and potentially find another resource. So keep those things in mind, and do consider that Duolingo is just one of the ways to re-encourage the habit, get into the groove, start getting familiar with the language. Yet you will have to go and do other things to really get to the point where you're comfortable hosting your own YouTube channel in the other language. Have you heard about Duolingo before? Do you think you will use it to practice a different language? And if you do, which language are you picking? I bet it's High Valyrian, right? Because you want to watch... I hope you... listen, if you want to watch, it's fine. If you want to learn fake language that's only spoken in one TV show, that's all good. Okay, I'm forgetting about the books. I'm gonna get flamed for that. Anyway, do what you must. I'm just curious to hear what you have to say, so drop your comments and ideas in the section below. Overall, I'm clearly enjoying the experience so far. I do find those 5-10 minute slots sometimes during the workday when I have some time to kill before the call, or sometimes before the end of the day when I'm about to go to bed and I want to just switch my brain off from social media or some other media that I've been consuming, and just really practice it and flex it a little bit before I go and completely shut things down, so to speak. And yeah, I think the results long term are to be seen. Once we're vaccinated, it's safe for everyone involved to travel. Let's see how I'm gonna fare in like Paris, or to be really tested in rural France. But until then, I actually practice more French than I had in like the last 10 to 12 years. So that's already great progress. That's already worth my investment into Duolingo. And in the meantime, until I'm ready to be fully tested, I'm gonna go and get re-encouraged by those animated characters sending me, I don't know, kisses and hearts and making faces at me because I got yet another question right. Thank you very much, guys, for stopping by. If you're new to this channel, go ahead, hit the subscribe button and check out the videos in the backlog. And if you're already a subscriber, thank you very much for stopping by. As always, let me know in the comment section below what you thought about this video, and I will see you all next Saturday, 10 AM Eastern, on this very channel. I hope this time around the sound quality is actually better, because I've been doing my research, I've been testing things. Apparently the easiest way to do it is to actually get boom right next to you. So I really was trying to make sure it's like far away. Yeah, I'm looking at the screen, that it's far away, that it's not in the shot, yet it's close enough to my mouth that you can hear me better. Let's see. The reason why I did that, because after all the research, after seeing people using the same kind of mic, I even heard professional audio engineers having that small hissing sound that keeps annoying me in their audio, but then once they really boomed it like this next to them, it worked much better. So fingers crossed, remains to be seen. pushing the quality on this channel, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.